A black judge recognized her childhood boyfriend on trial. Imagine sitting in a courtroom filled with strangers, reporters, and people watching your every move. You're a judge, the person in charge of justice. You have to be strong, fair, and unshaken by emotions. Your words decide if someone goes free or goes to prison for years. But what happens when you look up from your bench and see someone from your past? Someone you once loved, standing on trial as the accused. This is the story of Judge Layla Evans, a brilliant, strong, and respected judge. She fought hard to get to where she is. People trust her to be fair. But on this day, something extraordinary happens. The man on trial isn't just any man. He's Devin Carter, her childhood best friend and first love. As the charges are read, Layla's heart begins to race. Memories come flooding back. Days of riding bikes, sharing snacks, and promising to be best friends forever. But now Devin isn't that playful boy anymore. He's a grown man accused of robbery and assault. Layla knows she must stay professional. But how do you stay fair when the person on trial is someone who once held your heart? The choice she makes will shock everyone. And the twist at the end? No one will see it coming. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the good we're capable of. Let's get into it. The air in the courtroom feels heavy. Every seat is filled. Reporters sit in the back row with notepads in hand, whispering to each other. Family members of the defendant and the victims sit on opposite sides of the room, eyes filled with tension, fear, and hope. Everyone is waiting for justice. At the front of the room sits Judge Layla Evans, her black robe draped over her shoulders like armor. Her face is calm, unreadable, the way a judge is supposed to be. She grips the wooden bench in front of her with both hands. Her job is simple but powerful. Deliver justice, no matter who's in front of her. Court is now in session, the bailiff announces, his voice echoing off the tall marble walls. All rise for the Honorable Judge Evans. The entire courtroom stands as one. All eyes turn toward her as she rises slowly, her back straight, her face as cold as stone. She walks with the confidence of someone who's been doing this for years, even though her heart is heavy. No one sees her struggle. No one sees her doubt. Please be seated, Layla says, her voice calm but firm. The crowd sits, but the weight of the case hangs in the air. Her assistant places a folder in front of her. She opens it slowly, her eyes scanning the first page. Her lips press together as she reads the charges. Today's case is the state versus Devin Carter, she announces, her voice strong and clear. The charges are armed robbery and assault. She reads it like it's just another case, but her eyes narrow at the name, Devin Carter. The name hits her like a stone to the chest. Her breath hitches. That name. Her heart skips a beat. No, it can't be. It's just a coincidence. It's not him. But then the bailiff speaks. Bring in the defendant. The bailiff calls. The large double doors at the back of the courtroom swing open with a slow, echoing creak. Everyone turns to look. Footsteps tap against the cold tile floor. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Each step feels louder than the last. Layla glances up. Her hands freeze on the desk. Her body stiffens. It's him. It's Devin. Her breath catches in her throat. Her heart feels like it's beating in slow motion. And for a second, she forgets how to breathe. Devin Carter. Her mind flashes to images from her past. The boy who was her best friend. The boy she trusted more than anyone. The boy who called her lion because he said she was fierce and brave. Her chest tightens. She remembers racing bikes with him, eating snacks after school, and sharing secrets. They were inseparable. But now he's standing in her courtroom. Not as a friend, not as someone she can laugh with. He's the defendant, the accused, the man on trial. Her lips press into a thin line. She sits up straighter, trying to mask the swirl of emotions in her chest. She locks her eyes on him, forcing herself to stay strong. You're not a kid anymore, Layla. You're Judge Evans. Do your job. Devin's eyes scan the room slowly until they land on her. Their eyes meet. It's like time stops. His eyes widen for a fraction of a second, and Layla sees it. Recognition. For a moment, it's like the world melts away, and it's just them. Her heart remembers. So does his. He blinks hard, his face hardening. He looks away quickly, but it's too late. Layla already saw it. He remembers me. She swallows the lump in her throat, fighting to stay calm. Stay strong, Layla. Stay strong. The court clerk stands and begins reading the charges. Devin Carter, you are charged with armed robbery and assault. How do you plead? The clerk asks. The room goes silent. Reporters lean forward, ready to write down his every word. The victim's families stare him down like they can see right through him. The weight of the entire courtroom is on Devin's shoulders. Layla watches him closely, her eyes sharp like a hawk. What will he say? What will he do? Devin raises his head slowly. His eyes are locked on the clerk, but she knows he feels her eyes on him. His jaw tightens. His eyes stay calm. He speaks clearly. Not guilty, Your Honor, he says, his voice firm. No fear, no stutter, no hesitation. Layla feels a twinge in her chest. Not guilty. Her mind races. He didn't do it. Or is he just playing a game? She can't tell. Her hands tighten on the wooden bench. Is this the same Devin I knew? Her mind flashes back to a memory from when she was 12. She and Devin were sitting on his front porch, eating red popsicles. The sun was setting, the air smelled like rain, and the world felt calm. You're gonna be a lawyer or something big, Layla Devin said, licking his popsicle like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Why you say that, she asked, squinting at him. 'Cause you don't give up. You don't let nobody win, even when they bigger than you, Devin replied with a grin. You a lion, Layla. She remembered smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. A lion. She liked that. No one had ever called her brave before. She believed him. But then Devin's family moved. No goodbyes, no letters. Just gone. He left. Back in the courtroom, Layla stares at Devin, the memory still fresh in her mind. She sees the boy she knew, but she also sees the man he's become. He's taller, stronger, harder. His eyes don't have that same glow. She tries to push her feelings aside, but it's hard. What happened to you, Devin, she wonders. Why are you here? Her heart is at war with her mind. Her heart says, that's your old friend. You know him. He would never do this. Her mind says he's a man accused of armed robbery. He's not the same boy you knew. Her fingers tighten around her gavel. She knows she can't let her past affect her judgment. But her heart isn't so sure. Prosecution, you may call your first witness, Layla says, her voice cool and professional. The prosecutor, Mr. Davis, steps forward with confidence. Your Honor, we call Officer Marcus Hill to the stand. The police officer steps forward, taking the stand. He raises his hand and swears to tell the truth. Layla sits tall, her face calm, but her hands feel cold. Officer Hill, Mr. Davis begins, can you tell the court what you saw the night of the robbery? The officer nods. I was responding to a 911 call about a robbery in progress. I arrived on scene at 9:45 p.m. I saw 3 suspects running from the store. One of them was wearing a red hoodie. Red hoodie, Layla's heart skips. Her mind flashes to another memory of Devin running down the street with his red hoodie flapping behind him like a superhero cape. Objection, Your Honor, says Miss Reed, Devin's defense attorney. The officer did not identify Mr. Carter by name. Objection sustained, Layla says firmly. But inside, her heart isn't firm at all. Her eyes flicker to Devin. He doesn't look at her. He stares at the table. His fingers tap lightly, his face perfectly still. Why aren't you looking at me, Devin, she wonders. Are you hiding something? Her eyes narrow as she studies him. Her childhood best friend. Her first love. And maybe her greatest mistake. Late that night, long after the trial session had ended, Judge Layla Evans sits alone in her chambers. The dim desk lamp casts a soft glow on the dark oak desk. Papers are stacked neatly in front of her, but her eyes aren't on them. Her eyes are locked on a small photo clipped to the case file. The photo shows the crime scene, broken glass, police tape, and a red hoodie lying on the ground. Her fingers hover over it. Her heart feels like it's being squeezed. Her mind flashes back to a summer afternoon. She's 11 years old again. She and Devin are sitting on the front steps of her house. The sun is warm on their faces. Devin is wearing his red hoodie, that same red hoodie he always wore. even in the summer. It was too big for him, but he loved it. "Why you always wear that hoodie?" she had asked, teasing him. "Ain't you hot?" he grinned, pulling the hood over his head like he was a superhero. "Nah. It makes me fast," he said. Then he shot up, sprinting down the block. "You can't catch me, lion bet I can," Layla yelled, chasing him down the street. She remembers running after him, laughing so hard her chest hurt. He was faster than her, but only because he always started running first. She never let him win on purpose, though. She was a lion, after all. His lion. Back in her chambers, Layla snaps out of the memory. She stares hard at the photo of the red hoodie lying on the pavement near the crime scene. Number. It's not his hoodie. It's not his hoodie. She tells herself this over and over, but the doubt creeps in like a shadow. She knows it's common. Thousands of people wear red hoodies. It's not special. It could belong to anyone. But why does it feel like it belongs? Her assistant knocks on the door, snapping her out of her thoughts. "Judge Evans." "There's a delivery for you," her assistant says, placing a small envelope on the desk. "Delivery? From who?" Layla asks, frowning. The assistant shrugs. "No return address. It was just left at the front desk." Layla's eyes narrow as she reaches for the envelope. The paper feels rough, like someone crumpled it before smoothing it back out. She opens it slowly, pulling out a folded piece of lined notebook paper. Her heart stops. She knows his handwriting. The big, bold letters, the slightly slanted lines. She's seen it before. It's Devin's handwriting. The note is short but powerful. "I didn't do it, Layla. You know me." Devin. Her breath comes in shallow gasps. Her chest tightens. How did he get this to her? Who delivered it? She looks at the security camera in her chambers. No one is there. She checks the time. It's 9:27 p.m. Who could have dropped this off without anyone seeing? Her heart pounds as she stares at the words again. "I didn't do it, Layla. You know me." Her fingers curl into a fist, gripping the note so tight it crumples. "Do I know you, Devin?" she wonders. "Do I really know you anymore?" The next morning, the courtroom is packed. Reporters' cameras flash as people file into their seats. The trial resumes. Judge Layla Evans sits on her bench, wearing her calm, unreadable face. But inside, she is anything but calm. Her eyes flicker to Devin as he walks in, escorted by the bailiff. He doesn't look at her this time. "Why won't you look at me, Devin prosecution?" "Call your first witness," Layla says firmly, her voice sharp like a blade. The prosecution calls Officer Marcus Hill, a police officer who responded to the robbery. Officer Hill steps forward and raises his hand to take the oath. He sits in the witness stand, his uniform perfectly neat, his badge gleaming under the courtroom lights. "Officer Hill," says Mr. Davis, the prosecutor, "can you tell the court what you saw on the night of the robbery?" The officer adjusts his microphone. "Yes, sir. I responded to a 911 call at 9:42 p.m. When I arrived at the scene, I saw 3 suspects running out of the store. One of them was wearing a red hoodie. I chased them, but they jumped into a black sedan and drove off." "Did you get a good look at any of the suspects, Officer Hill?" Mr. Davis asks. "Not their faces, no," Officer Hill admits. "But I did see the one wearing the red hoodie." Layla's fingers tighten on her gavel. "The red hoodie again. Did you later identify the person wearing the red hoodie as Devin Carter?" Mr. Davis asks. "Yes, sir. Based on witness statements and the surveillance footage," Officer Hill replies. "Objection, Your Honor," says Ms. Reed, Devin's defense attorney. "There is no direct evidence linking my client to that hoodie." "Objection sustained," Layla says, her voice firm, but inside her chest feels heavy. The hoodie. Why does it have to be a red hoodie? The prosecution calls Mrs. Taylor, a store clerk who says she saw the robbery. Mrs. Taylor takes the stand, looking nervous. Her hands shake slightly as she holds the edge of her chair. "Mrs. Taylor," the prosecutor says, "can you tell the court what you saw the night of the robbery?" I saw them," she stammers. "I saw 3 men running out of the store." "Did you recognize any of them?" Mr. Davis asks. Her eyes scan the courtroom nervously. They land on Devin Carter. Her eyes stay on him for just a second too long. "Him," she says, pointing at him. "I saw him." The courtroom gasps. Layla's eyes snap to Mrs. Taylor. How sure are you, she wonders. Are you certain it was this man, Mr. Davis asks, gesturing to Devin. Mrs. Taylor hesitates. I think it was him, she says, her voice unsure. Think Ms. Reed jumps up from her chair. You think it was him? Well, he looked like him, Mrs. Taylor admits. Did you see his face clearly, Mrs. Taylor? Ms. Reed presses. Mrs. Taylor stares at her hands. He had a hoodie on. Ms. Reed turns to the jury. She didn't see his face. She thinks it was him. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thinking isn't knowing. That night, Layla sits in her chambers again, replaying the day in her mind. The hoodie, the witness, the doubt. Her eyes flick to the note on her desk. I didn't do it, Layla. You know me. Her heart is torn in two. Do I believe him? Can I believe him? Her assistant walks in with another envelope. This was just left for you, Judge Evans. Layla's eyes narrow. Another letter. She opens it slowly, her breath caught in her throat. This note is shorter. 2 words. But those 2 words send chills down her spine. Trust me. She leans back in her chair, heart thudding in her chest. How is he doing this? Her eyes dart to the security cameras in her chambers. No sign of anyone. Her fingers curl into fists. You're playing games, Devin, she whispers, her eyes narrowing. But in the back of her mind, a small voice says, what if he's telling the truth? She closes her eyes and breathes deeply. I'm not a little girl anymore. I'm not that lion cub. Her eyes snap open, sharp and fierce. I'm Judge Evans now. But even lions have doubts. It's the 3rd day of the trial. The courtroom is packed tighter than before. People whisper, the buzz of gossip spreading like wildfire. Reporters sit at the back with their cameras ready. Everyone knows this case is big. But Judge Layla Evans isn't thinking about the crowd. She isn't thinking about the press. She's thinking about Devin Carter. Her eyes scan the courtroom as her fingers tap lightly on the side of her gavel. She's supposed to be calm, steady, and unreadable. But today her mind is anything but calm. She looks at him as he sits next to his lawyer, Ms. Reed. Devin sits perfectly still, his hands folded in front of him. His eyes are locked on the table. He's too calm, she thinks. Why is he so calm? Her eyes narrow. Are you innocent, Devin, or are you just good at hiding it? Her heart remembers the boy she knew, the boy who promised to protect her, but her mind knows better. People change. Prosecution, you may present your evidence. Judge Layla says, her voice is firm as steel. Prosecutor, Mr. Davis stands, buttoning his suit jacket. His face is smug, like he already knows he's won. Your Honor, I'd like to present new video evidence to the court. The jury perks up, so does the crowd. Video evidence. Permission granted, Judge Layla says, trying to keep her voice steady. But inside she feels a flicker of fear. Video. The lights dim. The TV screen at the front of the courtroom flickers to life. Here Mr. Davis says, pointing to the screen as the video begins to play, this footage was captured by a surveillance camera across the street from the jewelry store. Everyone leans in. Layla leans in too. The video shows a blurry street at night. People walking. Cars passing. It's quiet. Then 3 figures run across the screen. One of them is wearing a red hoodie. Stop right there, Mr. Davis says, pausing the video. The red hooded figure is frozen mid-run. Look closely. You see the red hoodie. That is the same red hoodie we found at the crime scene. The crowd murmurs, play it, Judge Layla says, her voice cold as ice. She doesn't take her eyes off the screen. The video continues. The figures run off screen, then a black car pulls up to the curb. The figures jump in and the car speeds away. Mr. Davis pauses the video again. The prosecution believes that the man in the red hoodie is none other than Devin Carter. Objection. Ms. Reed stands up, pointing at the screen. That video is blurry. No faces can be seen. You cannot say with certainty that is my client. Objection sustained. Judge Layla says, her eyes sharp. Mr. Davis, do you have anything that directly links the red hoodie to the defendant? Mr. Davis clears his throat. Your Honor, we have witness testimony that places Devin Carter near the scene as well as his past criminal record. Combined with this video, we believe it's clear he was involved. Layla narrows her eyes. Circumstantial evidence. No faces, no fingerprints, just a hoodie and some shadows on a screen. Her eyes shift to Devin. He's still calm, still stone-faced. His eyes finally meet hers. "What are you hiding, Devin?" she wonders. It's an hour later when the most intense moment of the trial begins. "Your Honor, the defense calls Devin Carter to the stand," says Miss Reed. The courtroom buzzes with excitement. Everyone whispers. This is the moment they've all been waiting for. Layla's heart beats faster. He's going to testify. Devin rises from his chair, his movements slow but steady. He walks up to the witness stand, the chains on his ankles clinking softly with every step. The bailiff raises his hand. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" the bailiff asks. "I do." Devin replies, his voice strong. He sits down, and for a moment, the whole courtroom is silent. All eyes are on him. The reporters' pens are flying across their notepads. Ms. Reed steps forward. "Devin, did you rob that jewelry store?" "No," he says firmly. "Were you wearing a red hoodie that night?" "No," he replies. "I was at home with my little brother." "Do you have anyone who can confirm you were at home?" Ms. Reed asks. "My brother," Devin says. "But he's just a kid." "Do you have any reason to believe someone is framing you?" Devin pauses. He looks up for the first time. His eyes scan the room slowly, his gaze steady. He locks eyes with Layla. "Yeah," he says slowly. "I think somebody's trying to set me up." His eyes never leave Layla. For a second, she feels like he's not just answering the lawyer. He's talking to me. Prosecutor Mr. Davis steps forward like a shark who smells blood. "Mr. Carter," he says slowly, circling the witness stand. "You've been in trouble before, haven't you?" Devin sits up straighter. "Yeah, I made mistakes." "You were arrested for shoplifting, weren't you?" "Yes," Devin says, his jaw tight. "And you were also arrested for trespassing on private property at age 17. "Correct, yes," Devin replies, his voice cold. "So, Devin, would it be fair to say that you have a habit of breaking the law?" Mr. Davis says with a smirk. "Objection," Ms. Reed says, standing. "My client's past has no bearing on this case." Sustained, Judge Layla says quickly, glaring at Mr. Davis. "Mr. Davis, stick to this case." But it's too late. The damage is done. The jury is already thinking about his past mistakes. Layla knows it. She can feel it. The past never stays buried, does it, Devin? The next day, Judge Layla watches the jury file out of the room to begin deliberations. It could take hours. It could take days. The courtroom clears out, but Devin stays seated at his table. The bailiff tells him to stand, but he doesn't move. He's looking at Layla. Their eyes meet. For a moment, it feels like they're kids again, sitting on the porch, eating popsicles, talking about the future. She blinks, and they're back in the present. He's the defendant. She's the judge. He leans forward just a little, his eyes locked on hers. His lips move, but no sound comes out. She reads the words on his lips. "I didn't do it." Lion, her chest tightens. Her throat goes dry. Lion. No one had called her that in years. No one but him. Her eyes stay on him as he's led away by the bailiff. She grips her gavel tighter, her knuckles turning white. Her heart is screaming. "I want to believe you, Devin. I want to believe you so bad." But her mind whispers, "Don't be weak. People lie." It's the moment everyone has been waiting for. The air in the courtroom is so tense, it feels like you could cut it with a knife. The jury has been deliberating for 4 hours. Reporters, family members, and strangers crowd the seats, eyes locked on Judge Layla Evans. She sits on the high bench, her hands folded tightly under the desk. Her face is calm as always. But inside, her heart is a storm. She tells herself to breathe, to stay steady, but it feels like every breath is heavier than the last. Her eyes flicker to Devin Carter. Sitting at the defense table next to his lawyer, Miss Reed, Devin's head is down his fingers, tapping on the table like he's playing a silent drum beat. She notices his leg bouncing under the table. He's nervous. Why is he nervous if he's innocent, she wonders. "Please rise," the bailiff says loudly. The jury has reached a verdict. Everyone stands. The jurors file in one by one, their faces unreadable. Not a single smile, not a single frown. Layla's heart is in her throat. Has the jury reached a verdict? Layla asks, her voice steady, though her chest feels like it's on fire. The foreman stands with a piece of paper in his hand. Yes, Your Honor. Please read the verdict, she says. The courtroom goes silent. No one breathes, not even Layla. The foreman unfolds the paper slowly, too slowly. He looks at it, then looks at Devin. He clears his throat. We, the jury, find the defendant, Devin Carter. Not guilty for a moment, no one moves. It's like time is frozen. Then everything happens at once. Devin's mom sobs loudly. Ms. Reed jumps up, hugging Devin tight. You're free, Devin. You're free, reporters are scribbling on their notepads, snapping pictures while Devin's family bursts into cheers. Devin sits there completely still for a moment. Slowly he raises his head and looks directly at Judge Layla Evans. Their eyes meet, her heart skips. She doesn't smile. She doesn't frown. Her face is as hard as stone, but inside her heart is twisted into knots. Did I make the right choice? Did the jury make the right choice? Devin raises his hand slowly and places it over his heart. He nods at her. It's subtle, but she knows what it means. I told you, Lion. Her chest tightens. She grips the edge of her desk. Why does that still hurt? She wonders. Why does it feel like I missed something? The gavel hits the desk. Bang, bang, court is adjourned, Layla declares. The crowd floods out of the room, reporters chasing after Devin, cameras flashing in his face. That evening, Layla sits in her chambers. The lights are dim. Her robe is draped over a chair. She sits at her desk, staring at the open case file. Her eyes are locked on the picture of the red hoodie lying on the ground at the crime scene. Her fingers tap slowly against the desk. Her gut is heavy with doubt. She stares at the picture like it holds a secret. She's missing. Then her assistant knocks on the door. Judge Evans, there's a package for you. Layla turns her head slowly. Her heart beats just a little faster. A package? Who sent it? She asks, sitting up straight. No name, no address, her assistant says, placing a small square box on the edge of the desk. Layla stares at it for a moment, her fingers hovering just above it. Her instincts scream. She's seen this before. The letter. The other note. Slowly she opens it. Her eyes narrow. Inside the box is a single item, a red hoodie. Her breath catches in her throat. Her hands go numb. No, 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 no. Her eyes dart to the bottom of the box. There's a note. It's written in the same big, bold letters she recognized from before. I told you I didn't do it, but I never said I wasn't there. Her blood runs cold. Her chest tightens like a vice. Her eyes dart back to the hoodie. Her fingers tremble as she picks it up, turning it over slowly. There's a logo on the front. Her breath stops. It's the same logo from the surveillance footage. The exact same hoodie. She remembers the video. She remembers the blurry figure in the red hoodie running across the screen. The same hoodie she's holding now. Her breathing quickens. Her hands shake. Her heart is pounding so loudly it's all she can hear. He was there. He was there the whole time. Her mind races. Did I just let a guilty man walk free? Did I let him fool me? Her assistant walks back in. Judge Evans. Devin Carter is here to see you. Her head snaps up. Her eyes go wide. He's here. Do you want me to send him in? Her assistant asks, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside Layla's chest. Her eyes dart back to the hoodie on her desk. Her fingers curl into fists. She takes a slow breath in her chest, rising, and lets it out slowly. Yes, she says. Send him in. Her assistant nods and leaves. The door closes behind her with a soft click. Layla stares at the door, waiting. Her eyes flick to the hoodie one last time, then back to the door. Hez coming. She hears footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate. The doorknob turns. The door creaks open, slowly. There he is, Devin Carter. He walks in with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. He closes the door behind him, locks it. The sound of the lock echoes through the room like thunder. Her heart pounds like a drum. Hey, Lion, he says softly, stepping closer. His eyes scan the room, slowly taking it all in. We finally got some privacy, huh? She doesn't move. Her eyes stay on him like a hawk watching its prey. "Why are you here, Devin?" she asks, her voice cold as ice. He tilts his head to the side, his smile growing wider. "To thank you." Her fingers twitch, ready to hit the security button under her desk, but she doesn't. "Thank me for what?" she asks, keeping her voice steady. "For believing in me," he says, taking a step closer, "for remembering the boy I used to be." Her eyes narrow. Her voice sharpens. That boy's gone. His smile fades. For the first time, his eyes show something else, something darker. He glances at the desk. He sees it, the red hoodie. He pauses, his eyes darting back to her face. For the first time, his mask cracks. He knows, she knows. Her hand moves slowly under the desk. Her fingers curl around the panic button. She presses it, no sound, no flash. But she knows security is on the way. "You shouldn't have come here, Devin," she says, her eyes locked on his. "You made a mistake." He chuckles, but it's a dry, hollow sound. He glances at the door, then back at her. "We'll see about that lion." They stare at each other, the air between them crackling with tension. Neither one moves, the lion and the snake. The sound of footsteps echoes in the hallway. Devin's head snaps toward the door. His eyes meet hers, one last time. Cold, calculating, dangerous. He takes a step back. His smile returns sharp as a blade. "Until next time, lion." He turns, unlocks the door, and walks away, just as two security guards approach. Layla watches him go, her heart still pounding like thunder. Her fingers shake as she reaches for the hoodie. Her mind is clear now. She knows exactly who Devin Carter is. He's not the boy she used to know. He's the man who played her. Later that night, as Layla sits at home, her phone buzzes. She picks it up and checks the caller ID. Unknown number. Her eyes narrow. She knows who it is. Her thumb hovers over the green accept button. She should ignore it. She should block it. But something deep inside, maybe the line in her, presses the button. She raises the phone to her ear. She doesn't speak. Neither does the person on the other end. But she hears it, the faint sound of breathing. "Got something to say, Devin?" she asks, her voice smooth and calm, but her eyes are sharp. There's a pause, then that familiar voice comes through, smooth as honey but sharp as a blade. "You're still my lion, Layla. Don't forget that." Her jaw tightens. Her grip on the phone turns to iron. "No, Devin," she says slowly, her voice like a low growl. "I'm not your lion. I'm your hunter now." Click. She hangs up. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't breathe heavy. She doesn't cry. She just sits in silence, eyes locked forward like a predator watching its prey. Her heart isn't heavy anymore. It's light, because now she knows the truth. He thinks he won, but he didn't win. Not this time. This story wasn't just about a judge and a defendant. It was about something deeper. Betrayal hurts, but it makes you stronger. Layla's heart was soft when she first saw Devin walk into that courtroom. She saw her old friend, her childhood partner, and the boy who used to protect her. But in the end, she learned that love and loyalty can blind you to the truth. She trusted him, and he used that trust against her. But now she's wiser, stronger, sharper. Not everyone deserves a second chance. Devin had the chance to walk away. He could have left quietly, but he came back. His pride brought him back. He couldn't resist showing Layla that he won. But in doing so, he gave himself away. That's what predators do. They circle back to show off their catch. But this time, the lion is waiting for him. Justice isn't always blind. Judge Layla Evans learned the hard way that emotions and memories can cloud judgment. But now, she sees clearly. She knows what she has to do. Her eyes are open, and she's ready to hunt. You've just experienced one of the most intense, emotional, and unforgettable stories you'll ever read. Betrayal, suspense, heartbreak, power, it's all here. But guess what? This story isn't over. The lion is awake. The hunter is watching. And Devin is being hunted now. Stories where you can't stop reading because every twist pulls you deeper in. Hit that subscribe button now so you never miss the next jaw-dropping tale. Be the first to know what happens when Layla and Devin cross paths again. The story may be over for now, but the hunt has only just begun. Stay tuned for more intense stories with twists so sharp they'll leave you breathless.